Hello, this is James with another update on the banking crisis. Some fresh news is hitting the screen. I've done some research on what the hell is going on here. Bad news, everybody. You've heard lots of things already that have happened to Silicon Valley Bank. You've probably heard that they invested in variable or bonds or treasury bonds. No, that would have been a good thing because they pay a lot now, and that would have been making them money. This is the worst horror story coming to life. The bank actually went and took variable bond loans from the government. Um, yeah. So they're borrowing money at 0% or 0.4%. They're loaning it out for about 10 years straight to people for 3.5%. On a 30-year fixed mortgage. And you turn around and one day you need to raise rates to fight inflation. There it go today. And they've seen this coming, keep in mind, for what has it been, 8-9 months now that since they started raising rates. These people have known about it. They've known this was on their books. They've known this was toxic. They said nothing. They even raised more money and went on ski trips. They sold shares. They got out of their own positions, and this is a horror story come to life. Number one, it should be highly illegal for them to borrow on a variable rate and loan it on a fixed rate. This is obviously going to blow up in your face the first time interest rates go up. It should be a banking no-brainer. Not only did they do this, but the government encouraged them to. There is a daily requirement that all of these banks need to fit. Their number of deposits, cash on hand, needs to be a certain percentage of the loans that they have made or the money that has been loaned out to other people. And if they don't meet this margin by the end of the day, they have to log on to the discount window at the Federal Treasury website. They have their own little discount window where they can borrow the required amount of cash that is needed at the discount window. It sounds like they get a discount on this, maybe because they're special, but no, this little discount window is more expensive than not using the discount window. If you can pre-plan your needs a little ahead of time or keep extra money on hand so at the end of the day you don't end up with having to make this little call to the discount window, the better off your bank is. Most banks' first effort before going to the discount window is contact other banks and borrow it from a bank that has an overage. So all of these banks are loaning all of these banks money at the end of the night. I believe it's part of the Dodd-Frank rule, this financial requirement. It's 15% of the money loan. 15 or 25% is the limit on how much money you can loan out in compared to the deposits on hand. It's 15% on loans that are non-collateralized loans and 25% on loans that are collateralized. So if the loan's secured by something, you can loan out up to 25% of the depositor's monies that you have on hand. When you fall below these limits at the end of every single banking day, you need to right the ship. And so they do pad their books. And apparently they went and got variable rates from the government, right from the Treasury. Now those variable rates, let's say borrowed it and they have to pay the variable rate. I guess it's, I don't know, 4.5%, 6%. That's not 6% yet, but it could be soon. But somewhere between 4 and 5.5%, I'd imagine that they're paying. And they have to continue collecting the 3.5% from all of these mortgages. So obviously they're losing 1% of all of the bank's capital every year. It's the opposite of the business that is called opposite banking. Observation number one, these banks are heavily entangled with each other. Every time another bank would need capital, at the end of the night, because of the Dodd-Frank rule. Silicon Valley could wire them the money. They could wire them the money, and now that their funds are frozen and gone, I guess those people can still pay it back. But other people that wired Silicon Valley the money at the end of the night, those banks aren't going to get their money back. So how much of this back and forth is entangling other banks, number one. Number two, was this legal? It appears that it was. And now there's a lot of rumors that they invested in bonds. No, that would have been a good thing. That's not what happened here. They acquired money and loaned it out. The way they acquired the money was on a variable rate, like a bunch of morons who probably should be in prison. They knew what they were doing. The government knew what they were doing. The government encouraged them doing this by forcing them to write their books daily one way or the other and making the discount rate cost more. They incentivized it completely. So the bank's incentive was to not use the discount window and to acquire capital in all kinds of creative ways, including calling other banks. And they probably saw some really, really cheap money on the Federal Treasury Direct website at some point. And they probably grabbed, God only knows, 50 billion of it, 100 billion of it. I don't know how much they got. Maybe they padded themselves out nicely. And then they started loaning that money out, and they were making a killing hand over fist year after year. And then now their monthly payment is monstrous and growing. And it's been getting worse and worse and worse every time they raise rates. So that's what happened here. This was my initial prediction, since they said it was tied with the Federal Reserve. It just seems like it would make sense. How this is legal, I have no idea. How they could get away with it, I have no idea. How they could do it even for a minute, I have no idea. Are other banks doing it too? You can bet your sweet ass they are. If I would just imagine that this is probably legal because they did it. They did it over and over again. And the regulators didn't seem to have a problem with it when they were selling somebody $50 billion in variable bonds, or when they were loaning $50 million on a variable rate to SVB. They knew who they were selling the $50 billion to. They knew exactly who it was. They literally borrowed it from our government. So to say it was illegal is probably not true. Probably perfectly legal. And if it's perfectly legal and perfectly, obviously it was opportunistic because it was a lesser rate than the discount window, which is priced higher than regular mortals can borrow from the Fed from. Yeah, other banks were doing this too. You don't hear about it until the last minute. They don't want to tell anybody. The insiders know first. They all get out. You wake up in the morning and the whole thing's on shaky ground. And by the end of the day, boom, it's gone. Now, as so far as the money that's gone, it's close to $380 billion with a B. The amount of cash that the FDIC recovered was $175 billion with a B. That's how much was in their vault. There's $200 billion that is unaccounted for that cannot correct the depositors. 90% of all the, and up to 97% of all the depositors in this bank, that money was uninsured. So they're going to own a lot of mortgages, these people. The way the FDIC handles it is they will issue a certificate. They'll pay a dividend of upfront. They call it a dividend, believe it or not. And that is the money that their percentage of the money that the bank has on hand, which is going to come close to 50% of what they had in there. And then after that, the other 50%, they will be collecting through the FDIC receivership for the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years until it takes all of these people to finally pay off their 3.5% loan. And they will get their money back very slowly. If they're still in business in 30 years, they might get it all back. So they'll be slowly made whole. other banks, their balance sheets ripped apart, loaning money to SVB, them all of a sudden not having, $200 million or $2 billion. You're going to find other big banks in the next few days that had loaned money to SVB to cover their nightly their nightly Dodd-Frank requirement. They do this every single day of the week, believe it or not. And you're going to find that they gave their money to SVB, and then now they're not going to get their money back or half of it back. Their stock is going to collapse. Then we're going to find out that lots and lots of others are in this variable rate crisis. I would get out of every bank. I wouldn't recommend touching a bank at this point in the United States. Go somewhere where this shit is illegal. Go somewhere where Dodd-Frank does not encourage people to seek the money elsewhere. The discount window should be a discount. They even use confusing language for it. It actually costs the banks more to do it that way. It's more expensive to use the discount window at the Fed than it is to use the bank across the street. So they might as well just go out and borrow it at retail, and you're forcing them to do that every single day of the week. Now, they should have capital requirements, I agree. It shouldn't be done this way. This is obviously crazy. And then to know who is borrowing that kind of money from you and give it to them on a variable rate. This is the same greedy shit that they did back in 2000, before the housing crisis. Sign here, variable rate, awesome deal. They're doing this at the Fed. These loans either happened in the last 2 years, post-COVID. They happened all the way through when Trump started as president. They started raising rates. I don't know if it would have been a good of a deal then, but maybe it was a better deal then. The Obama years, you could go back to 2009 when they brought the interest rates down to zero, and everything from 2009 to 2022, 20 years almost of 12 years of home loans are upside down in comparison to what they got their money for in this case, potentially. I don't know. It sounds like it's legal, and it sounds like everybody did it, and everybody needs to be scared of everybody. If they all played this stupid game to make more money and just crossing their fingers, hey, we're making extra 0.5% every year, bigger bonuses, success, yay. Be scared, everybody. Get out of your banks. Get your money out. Make sure it's safe. If you're a depositor over $250,000, split your banks so you're FDIC insured for the $250,000. Get it elsewhere. I don't know who's safe at this point, but it seems like at least having the insurance might be a smart, prudent first step. Make sure everything you have is FDIC insured on a personal level. And on a secondary level, this is going to come down. We're looking at a bear market. The fear of this, the way they don't tell you about it until the last minute. It doesn't matter what the Fed rate or what the inflation rate on the 14th is anymore. I think this is the news. This is going to take the whole thing over. And there's more to come. There's more to fall. There's interconnectivity. Roku's missing $500 million that they invested with this place. And that's just a drop in the bucket. It looks like half of it's gone semi-permanently. So they're going to have to put that on their books. They're going to have to put that on as a loss. Negative earnings for the quarter. It's going to absolutely destroy the company. Many people can't make payroll. This is affecting already like a spider web. But now we just need a couple more banks to be as stupid and irresponsible. Just give me 2 more maybe, and then this thing turns into just a colossal mega fuck Dow 18,000 banking crisis. So bears, yeah, be a bear right now if you can. It's a bad time to buy banks. Let this thing unwind itself. Thank you for watching my video. Please like the video and subscribe. This is James, just with a little warning on SiVB. Get out, stay out, eek, don't go anywhere near it. Thank you and have a good day.